All right, in this video, I'm going to share the Section 8 turnkey rental method versus the Section 8 BRRRR method, and I'm going to share the method that I prefer and the reason why. So I have a couple of deals that I'm going to show to you right now, some example deals. One of them was actually sent to me recently, and the other is just an example of a BRRRR method deal. So this first deal, this is an example of a turnkey deal. You can see here it says October 28, 2024. This was actually sent to me a couple weeks ago. It was an off-market deal and it was selling for, I believe, around $145,000. And it already has a tenant in it. I think it is Section 8 tenant. It was a tenant paying around $1,400 a month and covering all utilities. So you can actually get higher than that for this particular zip code. But we're just going to use those numbers. So we have a property where if we purchased it for $145,000, it's turnkey, meaning we don't have to do any rehab or any renovations. And in this case, this doesn't always happen. It already has a tenant in it. So you can buy it and instantly start to cash flow. You just switch over the owner from the seller to you, and you start getting the rent checks directly to your bank account. Okay, so that is, I'm going to put the pros and cons here. So I'll just say the pros of turnkey is pretty much is possibility for instant cash flow if it has a tenant, if it already has a tenant. You also have little to no rehab work needed, so you don't have to worry about like coordinating with a contractor or anything like that. And it's very low stress, hands-off process, at least in the beginning. Because if you buy a turnkey property, you don't have to do the rehab. Some cases you don't have to find a tenant. You basically just switch the owner to you, and rent starts going to you. Okay, so turnkey, it sounds really good, right? The cons is you have higher price points. So as I'm going to show you in a second, this is $145,000. It says 129. This is when it was sold in 2024. Whoever the seller was or the owner was, they resold it again for $145,000. And it was purchased pretty quickly. I went to reach out to place an offer and somebody had already bought it. So turnkey, they look really good, need very little work, and it's great for people who have a lot of capital. They just want to put it into real estate with the least amount of headaches. Okay, they just want to buy something that cash flows and gives them that 10, 15, 20% plus cash on cash return every year, and the appreciation every year, and the principal pay down from the tenants. So this is a turnkey deal. Now, if I look at this here, this was back in 2023. I kind of just searched up like a lower price point in this same zip code. I have a few properties in this zip code that I purchased for around 70 to 80,000. And so this year, it's actually not too bad. 2023, the prices have gone up a lot in this zip code since I started purchasing here. My first purchase in this zip code was in 2022, and it was, I think, a $68,000 house, and it needed very minimal rehab work. It was like, I don't know, $7,000 or so. And if we look at the pictures, it's not terrible. You're still going to need to do some fixes, put some new flooring in. I haven't seen like the roof and all that. So I typically will send in my contractor and an inspector to take a look, and they'll give me an estimate. And that'll give me a good idea of what is needed to bring this property up to rent ready. So you could see it was purchased for $52,000 in 2023, which is a third of what the turnkey house sold for. Okay, so for the BRRRR method, higher price points, not much, no room for doing any rehab work and pulling capital out, which means your capital, whatever your down payment was, are stuck in deal. They're stuck in the deal. Which, again, it's not the worst thing. It's all just personal preference. It's just, can you put down 20% on the home and let it sit in there? So this would be about 30 grand in this case if you bought the property for 145,000 and you put 20% down. Okay. Now a BRRRR method deal, Section 8 BRRRR method. The pros for this is if you buy right, you can't just buy any cheap property. Okay, it's very important that you know what you're looking at. If you buy right, you can pull your capital out from the deal and use it to buy another deal and scale faster. BRRRR stands for, if you don't know, if you're watching this and you are unfamiliar with this term, buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. Okay, so you can go through this process, and basically if you buy correctly, you can pull your capital out of a deal. So you buy a distressed property, you do some renovations like this one here, it's $52,000 is what it was purchased for. Maybe we put in $30,000 into rehab, and then it appraises at $140,000, $150,000. We can take 75% of that new value out. So let's just say it's $150,000. That's like $112,000 or so we can take out. We can use that to pay back ourselves the $52,000 we used to purchase it. Maybe we did like a hard money loan. We could also pay back the rehab of $30,000. And then we also still have some money left to play with. So we have no money left in the deal. We're cash flowing, because I know this cash flows very well if you have a Section 8 tenant. And we have $20,000 to $30,000 that we can then have extra to put towards the next deal. And we have no money left in this, so then we have infinite ROI. Can achieve infinite ROI. No money left in deal. And you are cash flowing every month. Okay, so this is great. You can't really do this with a turnkey deal. In a turnkey deal, you need to leave your money in because there's no room to do any kind of renovations and refinance at a higher value because of that and pull out our capital. So again, it's just personal preference, what you're looking for. If you want that low stress, hands-off process, you just want to inherit a tenant and just start to get those rent checks sent directly to you without having to do pretty much any other work, then the turnkey method is going to be for you. So pros with the BRRRR method is if you buy it right, if you know where you're looking and you know what the rents look like and you know what the ARV, the after repair value looks like for that particular area, and you know exactly how to calculate that, you can pull your capital out from the deal and use it to buy more deals and scale faster. Okay, that's what the BRRRR method is designed to do. And in some cases, in many of my deals, I'm able to achieve infinite ROI, meaning there's no money left, none of my capital left in the deal, and I'm cash flowing every month, anywhere from like $300 to $600 a month. So the cons with this is if you do not know what you're doing, if you don't buy right, if you don't know what you're looking at, and you just buy some crappy home and you just look at the price point, you don't know like what the ARV is, you don't have a reputable contractor that works on these types of homes, you don't know how to rent the property out, you don't have any lender contacts that can help you with this process and lend on your type of home. If you don't buy right, you can royally screw yourself. Okay, I'm talking about losing tens of thousands of dollars, and you can royally screw yourself on so many different areas, right? The rehab costs, the ARV, getting a lender to approve, to fund your deal. A lender is not just going to approve any deal. They need to look at it and it has to make sense on paper. So if you don't buy right, it's going to bug me here, you can screw yourself out of tens of thousands of dollars on pretty much every part of this process. Also, some cons are there are sometimes surprises when you tear open walls, right? This means like budgets can go higher sometimes. Rents don't go for what you hope. Refi appraisal doesn't hit the value you expect. Okay, so there's lots of things that can go against what you're making a lot of guesses here, but if you know what you're looking at, you work with someone like me who knows the area and has done many deals like this, then you greatly reduce your chances of this happening. But there's always those risks, right? So there's sometimes surprises when you go into a distressed home and you tear open the walls, you start doing rehab, maybe you find extra things that need a little bit of work, and so budgets can go a bit higher. Rents, this isn't as much of a problem if you're dealing with Section 8 because you know what it's going to rent out for, at least the general range, before you go and buy the property. So you can work that in and you can work in the worst case scenario. Refi appraisal, you just have to make sure that you're doing really good comps and you're looking in the area and know how to calculate the after repair value, the ARV. So there are cons. These are the main ones. If you don't buy right, then you're going to screw yourself on many parts of the process because the numbers are not going to work. And also there are surprises that can happen as opposed to turnkey when you don't have to tear open walls because you're basically doing little to no work and you might already have a tenant in there that's cash flowing. So with all this being said, what do I prefer and why? What is the method that I prefer? If you give me both of these options, which one am I going to take? And pretty much every time I'm going to take this one here, the BRRRR method. And the reason is pretty simple. I know the area. I have a great team that helps with every part of the process. I have an agent. I have a contractor that specializes in these types of deals. I know what types of rents I'm going to get and the best zip codes that are going to give me the highest rents, Section 8 rents. And I also have some great lenders that lend specifically on these types of deals because many of lenders won't touch these types of deals if they're too cheap because they make no money. And this allows me to scale faster, to build a bigger portfolio and create more income at will because I can take the capital from one deal instead of leaving it in, and I can put it into the next deal. And I can keep doing that and repeating that over time. Okay, so we find both of these types of deals for clients. We have some clients who have a lot of capital and they don't care about getting that capital out. They just want to put it into real estate and they want the most hands-off method. So that's the turnkey type of deal. So we can source you these types of deals. And we can also, if you want to, and we work mainly in the Ohio market, so I have a team there and I know the zip codes very well. If you want to do BRRRR method deals where you can basically go through this process, and I have some other videos on my channel that explain this process in more depth, then we can find deals like this for you as well and walk with you through this process. Okay, so if you want help getting into the rental game, and you can do this 100% remotely, you can build a 6, 7, multi-7, maybe even 8-figure plus portfolio, 100% remote without ever seeing your properties. I've never seen my rentals in person, and we can help you to build your portfolio, whether you are just getting started or you already have a portfolio, or maybe you already have capital and you just want to deploy it into real estate. So if you want some help building your portfolio, go to the link in the description of this video, book a time, you'll talk directly to me. We'll talk about what your situation is and what strategy makes the most sense for you. But this is a breakdown of the Section 8 turnkey method versus the BRRRR method and the method that I prefer, the reason why. And I hope you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.